So, folks, we gotta talk about the fact that Donald Trump is in full-on panic mode. Because he has a little bit of a problem. And that problem is, he has soup for a brain. Now, many doctors and medical experts are debating what kind of soup he has for a brain. Is it clam chowder? Is it cream of potato? Is it some kind of chicken rice situation? Doctors are concerned and have a multitude of different theories. However, what they can all agree on is that he is exhibiting the symptoms of clinical soup brain. And one of the symptoms of clinical soup brain is an inability to keep your inside thoughts and desires on the inside. Now, here's Donald Trump. I'm just going to play a quote from him from earlier today.
Again, I believe there'll only be one country that really benefits, and it should be the United States, and it will be if we do this, if we're unified. We have to be unified. China is unified because they have one vote. That's President Xi. He says do it, and that's the end of that. You know, we have a different system, but we have a system that's good, but we only have a system that's good if it's smart. David Sachs, can you say a few words? Again,
we have to be unified. China is unified. They get one vote. You know, the dictator. This man is just sitting there being like, I guess I would really like to be a dictator, please. But no, we have a different system, and we have to be smart. Like, genuinely, he's losing it. Like, these are the kinds of things you keep on the inside. Like, even if you are a wannabe dictator, you keep those thoughts on the inside, because when people hear you say that, they don't like it. Americans don't like it when the president starts talking about being a dictator. I mean, that means he actually thinks dictatorship is equal to a unified country? Yes, exactly. Now, why might he be just kind of firing off the cuff a little bit here? Well, it's because he's not seeing a lot of W's.
Biden is less competent and more brain-dead than Trump. He thinks Trump is on top of his game. I plan on using this ad one of S few segments to convince him otherwise.
I mean, I don't know that it matters if Biden is less competent and more brain-dead at this point, because Biden's not the president anymore. Donald Trump is. And, you know the famous saying, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich? Apparently, not just one grand jury won't indict Letitia James. 3 grand juries won't indict Letitia James. Justice Department again fails to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. It's crazy. This administration is so desperate for that authoritarian power, it can't even level coherent arguments towards trying to jail their political opponents to enact some kind of political vengeance. Like, I'm sorry, the deck is so stacked in favor of you securing an indictment that you failing to get indictments against your political enemies 3 times is genuinely next level unreal. It's very funny. It's very, very funny. That being said, another very funny thing that probably has Team Trump on edge here is this. Indiana GOP rejects Trump's map in major blow to his gerrymandering push. Now, the thing you have to understand about this story is that Donald Trump has publicly threatened Indiana's federal funding. And you might be asking, which federal funding? And the answer is Donald Trump threatened all of it and said if Indiana doesn't pass this gerrymandered map, all federal funding to Indiana is going to be cut off. So I guess we're going to see if that was a lie shortly. You know, seems like something that should be illegal, but, you know, the Mad King is doing what the Mad King does. And meanwhile, why did Indiana reject this map? Well, partially, I keep taking off my glasses. Partially it's because the special elections have them scared. The, No Kings protests have them scared. Because previously, the thought was, oh yeah, look at all these liberals. They'll turn out to protest and then, they'll go away and it'll be like they never did anything. Except people have been showing up to the special elections, even in the reddest possible Trump districts, right? One of the things we saw with Afton Bain's campaign recently is a shift of something to the order of like 13 points towards Democrats. And that happened across all the parts of the district, right? And, well, just take a look here at the congressional gerrymander here. This is the map that they rejected, right? Which would have made all of the seats red. But the margins for some of these are thin, to say the least. So, for example, in District 1, that went to Trump by, 12 points. That's in play in a gerrymandered map. Well, long story short, the 13-point swing has all these people really fucking nervous because all of their understandings of how things played out in the 2024 election relied on lower voter turnout among Democrats and higher turnout among Republicans. And the opposite is going to be in play in the actual midterms, because if there's a 13-point swing during a special election, the swing to be expected during a midterm or a general election is much, much larger. And so this is all not great for their chances. Additionally, Donald Trump jilted a number of his allies within Indiana. My rear end is correct here, pointing out that Donald Trump's use of the R slur caused one of the state-level representatives in the GOP to flip on Donald Trump because he has a son with Down syndrome. And this is now becoming an issue where the GOP doesn't want to weaken their hold any more than they have to. And Donald Trump's wishes are going against what these Republicans find to be in their self-interest. And you're going to find that as Donald Trump continues to become more and more at odds with the desires of the rank-and-file GOP, and they stop finding him useful, they are going to turn on him. And this is going to become more of a trend as things go forward, because again, he's only going to become less popular. The knives are starting to come out. And I think one of the best examples of this happening is at the Heritage Foundation. Believe it or not. Like, the Heritage Foundation, the org that created Project 2025, that has been backing Donald Trump, like, unanimously for the past year. Well, some folks that are working there, some of the conservative hardliners that work there, are starting to find their breaking points. Here's Tim Chapman. I loved my time at Heritage Action and was proud to be a co-founder of what was such an important part of the conservative movement. So I say this with respect and sadness. There is nothing conservative about backing threats to a state's federal funding because it declines to push a president's own political agenda that is unconstitutional and coercive to states. What would conservatives say if a Democrat threatened state federal funding to redraw congressional maps? Because this is all in response to Heritage Action tweeting out, President Trump has made it clear to Indiana leaders, if the Indiana Senate fails to pass the map, all federal funding will be stripped from the state. And, apparently this is a bridge too far for some of even the co-founders of Heritage Foundation's activism arm. So it's looking a bit rough out there for the Trump administration. And, well, no. My rear end, federal funding for specific things tends to get threatened. Usually it's not federal funding for everything in the state. It's not a blanket threat. That's new. And that is what he is throwing up his hands over. And it could be that that's just like, the straw that broke the camel's back. But I will say that to me, this is a really big sign of how broken the current Republican and conservative moment is, right? And how desperate they are, and how desperate Donald Trump is. Because Donald Trump has broken the break glass in case of emergency seal. Trump seeks to cut restrictions on marijuana through planned order. The president is expected to direct agencies to reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug, similar to some common prescription painkillers like Tylenol. this is like the one of the last lines of defense for a lot of politicians in recent years. Like, oh, I'm gonna reschedule marijuana. That has been a go-to. And like, if Donald Trump's numbers are this bad, keep in mind Republicans have been trying to a lot of Republicans have been trying to outlaw marijuana again. You know, they've been trying to close the loophole. The recent GOP funding bill included language to close the loophole around marijuana. Donald Trump is directly going against his GOP coalition in Congress in order to put this out there into the world, right? This is like, this is not playing ball with Congress in a way that like a lot of Republicans are going to like. But that's because, again, the interests of the Republican majority and the interests of Donald Trump are beginning to unalign. So we will see. But one last point. Why Donald Trump is in panic mode. The United States is threatening the International Criminal Court with new sanctions unless specifically the ICC agrees. It will not prosecute Donald Trump.
Oh no, the girls are fighting. Oh yeah, the girls are fighting.
Look, the Donald Trump administration does not expend this amount of political or foreign capital unless they think that there is an actual answer. Like, unless they think there is an actual threat, rather, from the ICC. It's fascinating. Donald Trump wants the International Criminal Court to amend its founding document to ensure it does not investigate the Republican president and his top officials. A Trump administration official said, threatening new U.S. sanctions on the court if it did not. If the court does not act on this, U.S. demanded two others, dropping investigations of Israeli leaders over the Gaza war and formally ending its earlier probe of U.S. troops over their actions in Afghanistan. Washington may penalize more ICC officials and could sanction the court itself. Sanctioning the court would significantly escalate the U.S. campaign against the ICC, which has long been criticized by U.S. officials, including Republicans and Democrats, who say the court infringes on U.S. sovereignty. And like, the Trump administration officials speaking on the condition of anonymity said Washington has communicated its demands to ICC members, some of whom are U.S. allies, and has also made them known to the court. The United States is not a party to the Rome Statute that established the ICC in 2002 as a court of last resort with the power to prosecute heads of state. The demand and the threat to resume U.S. sanctions campaign toward the court have not previously been reported. And again, you don't do this unless you're genuinely worried about prosecution. And I think they should be worried. I think one of the great wrongs that the United States has committed is abandoning its commitment to international justice. And I can think of nothing more fitting than for the next president to hand Donald Trump over to the International Criminal Court and sign on to the Rome Statute. I like, genuinely, that seems like maybe one of the top things an incoming president could do very easily, especially if we are looking for accountability for the people who have done all of these abuses of power to us. So, something to think about as we begin to build up more local power going into the midterms and the general election in 2028. How are we going to make sure these people are held accountable? And if we cannot trust our legal system, then we should back it up by attempting to trust the International Criminal Court. Like, I don't know, if they're that worried that they need to re-litigate sanctions against the ICC, hey, maybe we should make sure that they get handed over to the ICC. I'm just saying. It seems like a pretty decent idea to me. So, all that being said, Donald Trump has had a really bad time of it lately, and good. Fuck him. And with that being said, if you got anything out of this, like, leave a comment, subscribe. Definitely leave a comment. It genuinely really helps the video to do well. And let me know what you think. And make sure you join your local Dems to radicalize them. Join your local DSA to make them more effective. If you need help, join our Discord. There should be a link in the doobly-doo. And reach out to Dragonfly for help joining and radicalizing your local Dems. Reach out to GamerG for help joining and making your local DSA more effective. And consider checking out ImogeneOlivia.com. Imogene Olivia, gender euphoric lingerie built from the ground up for trans femmes. And we tested it with cis men, cis women. Everyone who's tried it loves it. It is a high-end, or higher-end lingerie built to fit you, non-tucking. And everyone who's tried it has loved it. So, and looked amazing in it. So please check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link in the doobly-doo. All that being said, let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.